welcome to Underhold. I'm Rob C. Gresham.
Sinclair Thompson, legal priest.
And today we're going to talk about The Irishman, Netflix's newest, 5,000 hour long movie. Just dropped the end of November.
Yeah.
So if you got your December subscription still and didn't blow it on your Disney Plus, definitely check out The Irishman. So, let's jump right into it. So directed by Martin Scorsese.
The Great.
Starring everybody who's ever been in one of his movies.
Plus.
Yeah, plus.
Hoffa himself. The guy who played Hoffa.
Oh, Al Pacino?
Al Pacino.
I was like, Hoffa was in the movie?
No.
He never got killed.
But he was never in a Scorsese film, was he?
You know what? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think this is the first time they've worked together.
Yeah, I mean, comment below about my ignorance, obviously, there. But, I mean, we got Harvey Keitel,
Yeah.
Joe Pesci, fucking Robert Deniro. Just
Ray Romano's in it. Also, the
great
guy.
in the movie. So good. I was not expecting that performance from him.
Todd from Breaking Bad was a perfect... I don't know the actor's name.
I recognize his name when I read it, but I'm forgetting it right now. But he played Chucky Hoffa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so you know you are Chucky.
COPPA violation coming down the stairs.
Oh, remember, the kids out there, the Underhold is not for fucking kids. Yeah. But tag this one Ryan's World. Hashtag Drake. Oh, I love you, sweetie. You want to lay down? Well, here's one problem the Irishman didn't have. A loving daughter. Yeah. Anna Paquin played his daughter in the movie. She has
she's
no
a
dialogue.
loving daughter, but she hates her dad.
She knows right away he's a brutal killer when he goes to the candy shop. He's a shit out of the candy man in front of her.
So should we try and put a black screen around this? Or what?
I don't know.
Should we just keep going?
Yeah, just
make it a blanket?
Green paint. Green painter. So you can just put it in a different shirt. Rose, I'm gonna have to cover you with a blanket, okay? Alright, well, we're back.
And we're back.
Yeah, unlike Martin Scorsese's new technology in The Irishman, we could not show our de-aging process.
We should have a high aging process. Emily's 40 years old now.
Goes, oh crap, give me that Santa Claus hat. Just Santa Claus hat, a big mustache on her. That's obviously it. She's got the hummus. Anyways, so back to The Irishman. I love that it comes...
Todd in it.
Yeah, Todd. Played Chucky Hoffa in this film. His name is kind of recognizable.
I thought you had your name in his head.
But,
his name in your head.
Just can't quite remember. And, Chucky Hoffa was kind of a doofus, and he plays this well-meaning doofus pretty well in the film. So, you got that. But let's get it back at the top. This is based on the book, I Hear You Paint Houses.
I Hear You Paint Houses.
Which was a kind of a euphemism for painting it with people's brains.
Oh, okay. That's the exact reference?
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting about this film is it begins and ends essentially with title cards that have that name.
Yeah, because that's the initial... I think that was going to be the name of the film. Because the movie doesn't say The Irishman.
Yeah.
It never puts out The Irishman.
That's what I was about to say, too, is I don't remember it saying The Irishman. I wonder if that was a little thing of, Netflix wanted a better name for marketing, but then Scorsese's like, okay, I won't fight you with it if you're not going to change the contents of it.
Yeah, here's my movie, and they're like, cool. I'm like, yeah, put whatever.
But putting a title that says The Irishman on it is changing the content of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can just put I Paint Houses in the title cards, I mean, you're not changing the film itself.
Yeah. And so this goes through the life of mob hitman / Teamster boss Frank Sheeran.
Yeah. Who
throughout the 60s, 70s, or 50s went on, apparently works for the mob. Pay no attention to the wizard behind the curtain. And went to one of the wars, I'm guessing Korea, in the film. Didn't really specify.
Yeah, because Vietnam would have been too late. It would have probably been Korea.
Yeah, so I'm guessing...
No, I think he said Vietnam. I think he said Vietnam out loud.
So yeah, we'll have to look it up. I didn't read the book. We should have invited Sean O'Neill on. Sean O'Neill this was his favorite book. And, don't get in my frame, little troll. Alright, And this dude just meets the mob one day and goes, "Yeah, I'll kill people for you." That's how it kind of felt. Like he was just like, he sees Joe Pesci and he's like, "I can hook you up with this deal on my steak freezer."
I think what I got the idea of, the character knew about people in the mob and knew at the very least it could be helpful for him.
The orange.
That's right. Your orange cup is right there. We don't want to have too many interruptions. At least not on screen. The Underhold is not for children, or features children in any kind of entertainment capacities.
So what I got out of it a bit is that he at least knew about mobsters and made men, and knew at least it would be a good idea to at least be involved as potential ways to make money, if not actually get directly involved. Now, I don't know if that's from the novel, or if that's something that was
as
put
non-readers of the book, we can't give you that Underhold insight. But it kind of felt to me like he just saw the popular kids in the neighborhood, and I go help them out.
Yeah, like it would be better to try and get involved than not, which is maybe in some ways
really fast that he'd kill people for him.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. He's like, what'd you do in the war? Sometimes you take a guy in the woods and you put a bunch of bullets in him and you don't ask questions. I'm like, we did that a bunch in the war? I remember us killing off prisoners like that, or I bet we did because war is hell.
Yeah, I mean, he's at least implying that that's what they did without official orders.
No, they were Nazis. Remember? Yeah, I made those Nazis.
Oh, okay. So it's World War II.
So it had to be World War II. Yeah, because I was like, here's the social justice part.
That's right. Okay.
He's shooting the Nazis. He's like, they'd always dig their own graves. I don't get it. I'm like, it's because German people are very efficient.
Well, I think there was another thing that reminded me of digging your own grave, of a little bit having to do with the end shot of Hoffa and them.
How kind would you put him in the crematorium? Mm-hmm. Yeah, spoiler alert, don't let spoilers ruin your life here. Jimmy Hoffa is murdered in this movie and goes missing.
Yeah, so that's what this is about, is mob hitman claiming he was the person who killed Hoffa, and this is how it was done.
Yeah. Now, he didn't do it on a deathbed around priests. He did it to a novelist. So there's a whole bunch of stories floating around Hollywood that this story is complete bullshit. Dude that's been working with the FBI for 20 years even rolled up on Robert De Niro and was like, "Do not make this movie, it's all bullshit." And he's like, "I don't care."
And some of this, I don't think that trying to tell the true story of this incident is what this movie's about. I think a lot of it is getting people together to make a film. There's also a lot of reflection of life. And also a couple of side notes of the mob and unions and how they have worked for each other and against each other.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't help, I guess, the perception that the unions are shitty and corrupt, because it is corrupt from day one. When they're like, he just goes into a place, "Here's your payout." He's like, "I don't need a payout." "Oh, it's like that." I'm like,
so an interesting dynamic that this film at least was portraying was the idea that mobs and unions were helping each other out. So the union would hire the mob essentially to help out with some of their protesting. Like they would show them the New York cabbie protest.
Traditionally, the mob was just kind of like the cops for poor for immigrants that didn't trust the cops.
And one thing that helped out, if they were helping out,
keep your boss from fucking you over.
The poor people with jobs, those people would make more money, which would allow the mob to make more money off them. And then also this side thing of, since the unions were getting power under people like Hoffa, and then there was a pension fund. The mob could borrow from that pension fund to little to no interest for their mob ventures.
Yeah. So all the shit the mob paid for, it was because they borrowed from the pension fund, which people paid into their pension fund had no idea was going on.
The unions could use mob power to help them with their goals, and then the mob would have their own beneficiaries. Now this gets changed in the film.
Yeah, because of the inside oversight by Robert Kennedy, right?
Yeah, and Robert Kennedy took Hoffa out of the picture of being the person directly in charge of the pension fund. Even though he tried to exert some power, you had another guy who could essentially write a blank check to the mafia. And the mafia at some point didn't like that.
Too much public scrutiny, right?
The mob didn't like that they didn't have a blank check anymore. It created more public scrutiny.
And we've seen that before.
And ultimately, in a weird way, it led to the downfall of the mob being such a huge force, was their fact they got too greedy. I mean, but
Yeah, when you
What do
lose
you
the
expect from
Iron
the mob?
Bank, you cannot take the rest of Westeros.
Yeah.
So we figured that one out.
I mean, part of the thing that their idea of what they were trying to say with Hoffa is in some ways he was also trying to keep the mob in check of not getting too big for their own britches.
Yeah, because we look at the romantic angles of the mafia and all that from our television, from the books, and the truth was it was a very insular ethnic game.
Yeah.
Without me putting on my white hats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they did not like outsiders, and therefore outsiders probably had a reciprocal bad view of them. If they came to your neighborhood, it was like these gangsters are doing this, this, and this, and they're also being all racial about it. I could see other uptight Karens being like, ah, especially all these Irish ones. And that's what Hoffa is. He's just some Irish fool who's like, wants his overtime. So of course he's going to be like, calling cops on.
Hoffa's portrayed by Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Which...
It seems like that's all he does now, though, is portray other famous people that are dead. Like he's Jack Kevorkian.
But he's also like the I could
Paterno lately.
It makes sense him playing like Kevorkian because they actually kind of sound the same or something.
Well, he kind of looks like Hoffa.
Yeah.
If you look at some pictures,
kinda.
but I don't know about his voice because it's definitely
doesn't seem to
Pacino's.
act like how I remember seeing Hoffa.
Yeah, I was like, was Hoffa this short? Because Al Pacino's short compared to Robert De Niro, and he's just Al Pacino and all over the place. Just "Hoa, cocksucker," and it seemed like that was his favorite word, cocksucker. Like, did Jimmy Hoffa say it a lot? Was there a lot of instances in the book? I want to look that up. Was that his way to get into character? Every interview with Jimmy Hoffa was shouting cocksucker at somebody? Which I don't think's a bad word.
In some ways, he's the most outlandish of the film, and Pesci is like the most reserved.
Yeah, it's like a flip.
Yeah.
I mean, you always have that boisterous Al Pacino kind of. In some ways, he's a classier Nick Cage.
Yeah, he's hammy.
A lot of us all remember Joe Pesci from Goodfellas being an over-the-top Tommy character. Like, we even remember that character's name. And here he is, very reserved, very quiet. It was amazing to see his return to acting after such a long time out, and then being able to pick it up right. I mean, I know it's obviously not the same sort of craft, but he was so good.
Yeah, he just got into it so easily, it seemed.
Yeah. And the technology, I forgot about it sometimes. When he was younger, because that's when I
it's hard to tell if they were being de-aged, or because I think there's a lot of stuff where they were aged older too, even not just the Sheeran character played by
De
Niro, because De Niro obviously
he carries that movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's electrifying to watch. I'm so glad because we've had so many years of Robert De Niro just being shitty and stuff.
I saw some stuff. Oh yeah, because his wife has spent all his money and he has to get all the money back. So he's totally doing the thing of like any movie that's put in front of him.
Like all she did was buy grills, right? Just a bunch of
I don't remember the
diamond grills.
But she's spending all his money, so he has to do any movie put in front of him.
Yeah, I think I got this one, and not like Rocky and Bullwinkle too. Because I figure that's got to be on the horizon for all fucking.
But I guess one thing they did for the de-aging, they'll usually put the stuff on the face for it. And there's some software.
He probably has some natural folds.
So there's multiple things going on now in Hollywood. Some actors are putting in their contracts for some slight de-aging on their film. Yeah. So if you watch what's the Brad Pitt film that came out where he goes all the way out to like Neptune or something?
Oh, Al Astra?
Ad Astra. And compare that to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, maybe I'm wrong here, but it feels like he doesn't have any de-aging on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He looks cool as hell, but he looks his age.
He's like Paul Rudd. He just never ages.
Well, no, he does age. He does seem like he's aged. But then in Ad Astra, he looks younger, and it feels like it's more than just makeup. So...
Is that where we're going to go? Our current celebrities are going to be the ones that we have forever.
But then you have stuff like what they've done in Logan, which is more directly. Or you have stuff that's done like in Gemini Man, where they put stuff on his face and they just put a direct new CGI head on Will Smith completely.
So it just looks bad.
Yeah.
I still haven't been able to bring myself to watching Gemini Man.
But this...
I know that Terminator's already at our Buck Theater, so
they put the dots on their face, but I think it was using like UV or something like that, because Scorsese said he didn't want to do the de-aging if they had to wear the tennis balls on their face, essentially. So they found a way to where you can't see the markers.
Him talking shit about Marvel again.
Well, he's just saying he wanted, acting's a lot of reaction, and he didn't want any distraction in the actor's face, as little as possible. And they've been talking about that some of the new cameras they had to use for the technology itself was a little distracting because the cameras were bigger.
Yeah, well, the movie looks good. Time frame wise, it's like, it's no Joker where you can look at it and you're like, wow, we are in a different era. Like, I didn't feel like this movie had that same power of, like, even Goodfellas of being able to seem like it was in a different time period. It never felt to me like, I know it was taking place in the 70s.
Yeah.
I never felt like it was the 70s.
There's some aesthetics that I kind of remember from my grandparents having of, like, a gaudy, what people think wealth looks like.
It's like, it was like people in costume. Like, the people had the right costuming.
Yeah.
And that's something to be said about, like, the women performers in the movie, too. It's like, you have all the women who almost have no lines.
Yeah.
But they look and move with such character that they're a presence, all of them. You have the wives of Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro's characters on this trip, because the whole movie's framed around like a car trip, which ends up being the trip to go to Detroit to kill Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
So as the movie is framed in this car trip with these back and forths memories, you have the women along for the ride, and while they're just quiet and doing like what wives might do on any old boring car trip with their husbands, the presence that they bring to the screen is powerful enough to where Scorsese has to spend time later even giving him origin stuff, like, here's where that chick came from. That wasn't even, and she brings a lot to the movie, even though there's almost no dialogue for it. And I feel bad that just like, I'm like, what character? I don't know her name.
And so I kind of want to get to kind of what I feel like is a bit of an underpinning to the film is like friendships and your life. There's little parts in the movie where you see a character as a real person. There's a freeze frame, and like this is what their life ended up being in the end. Like, they got shot in the head.
Oh yeah, like, hey, here's Joey Gallo, fucking Sebastian.
And then a lot of the movie is also about these friendships, and like one being Ed Sheeran and Jimmy Hoffa. Like that becomes a very big thing. Like they become really close. And then at the end of the movie, there's this huge thing of reflection of everything that you've done in your life. And that's what I feel like, at least to me, was kind of what attracted Scorsese, the idea of doing the film, or what he wanted to portray, is kind of reflecting on your life and your friends. Maybe I'm jumping...
Like where your turns took you.
Yeah, exactly. Where your turns took you, your decisions. There's a part that
how
I
age
wanted...
affects you.
Yeah.
Because you have people who are old but still think they're young.
Yeah. Or there's even things like, even seeing Scorsese now, he is sharp as ever, but he's old. He's coming to terms with he's going to die.
Yeah, the pacing, I think it was a sluggish.
I thought it was great.
Well, there was parts of the movie I'm like, along with your death thing of Scorsese, I didn't want to cut off that he's dying. Pull a fucking Dennis Hopper on everybody. But I definitely thought, okay, the first hour of the movie, which is just setting up that Frank is a killer, I think we could get that out the way and get to the Hoffa nugget faster. Like, I think because the movie is really focused there. The beginning, I think, is just to show that he's violent and that his family knows that he's violent, which wasn't played off as well because it seemed like it was all ho-hummy, but the daughter's just quiet and terrified of him, right? And so that's to play off later.
That's what I think of, like, reflections of life. There's a whole thing about his daughter knowing kind of who he is as a person. He can't really come to terms with that.
She did feel a little too telepathic. I'm like, just because I'm watching the news, I killed Jimmy Hoffa. Yeah. I'm like, Jesus, get off my... You're just like my wife. I didn't do everything. It's not my fault.
Well, even if it's not kill Jimmy Hoffa, she knows that he's involved.
Yeah, anytime there was like, he's reading the newspaper and there's a missing person in the newspaper, she's like, my dad killed him. And she would just give him that death look like, I know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
And that was annoying to me, but it was also, I think, to show the character had there was that palpable sense of there's no comfort there.
I think it ties in a little bit to, there's a weird edit that happens twice in a very short part of time where he shoots Hoffa, and you see they just cut like a second of frames directly. Like there's like movement, and then there is a cut, and then more movement, and you see there is a cut in the same shot. And then they do the exact same thing when he has to call Hoffa's wife. And he has that phone call, and it's traumatic to him having to make this phone call to where he's killed lots of people, but this is somebody that he was friendly with, and he knew the family.
I mean, they wore matching pajamas.
Yeah.
That was something I got stuck on.
Mm-hmm.
They're at, Hoffa and him are at the hotel on one of these Hoffa election trips or whatever, and they got little 2 beds in the room together. They had their matching jammies on together, and I was like, that is unrealistic to me.
And there's stuff of like
I do not see
the
two
open
dudes.
door, and then like when he goes
Maybe
to
that's
sleep,
my
he has to
toxic
open,
masculinity.
He has the open door too at the end when he's in the retirement home.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole sequence in the third act, like after Jimmy dies, where it shows him like Ed Sheeran.
Make sure you clip in a picture of Ed Sheeran and not Frank Sheeran. It's like every time you're like Ed Sheeran, I'm just like used to that redheaded fuck that's like
right.
Taylor Swift's friend or whatever.
Ed
Yeah, the whole time Ed Sheeran.
So he's a singer, right?
Yeah, so there's the thumbnail. It's just the Irishman.
Was he the guy in Today or Yesterday? I don't know. He's a singer that I don't listen to, so that's part of the reason. Is I've heard the name a lot.
Yeah, Sheeran just sounds like something like that.
I don't listen to Ed Sheeran, so. But yeah, a lot of life reflection in it, and towards the end of the movie, they show him as like him dying, and him like they showed Pesci's character essentially convert to Christianity fully
Right before he died.
Right before he died,
like
right
everyone
before
else in
he died,
jail.
But there's a lot of stuff about that of like trying to look into the abyss of death.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like the whole movie is basically looking into, basically staring death in the face.
Yeah,
and it's like, and the guy, it slowly starts to look back into him, just like that classic saying.
Which is interesting because that's definitely probably not what the book was about. This is something new the film is trying to explore.
It could be.
Is staring. I feel like it's staring death in the face and looking at what you've done with your life and your friends.
The book is supposedly told by an aging Frank Sheeran, right to this novelist or whatnot. So it could be that he himself has this feelings, and maybe that's a theme that carried over that Scorsese noticed in the book reading. Went, oh, okay, I can see this, because my favorite mob book is about the DeMeo mob killers, and I think it's just called like Death or something crazy. Like it's like a weird title, but that has a like palpable tension of just like you're afraid all the time. There's just paranoia, and I think that
he's been in there the whole time.
Well, the real Irishman.
Yeah, he's the cat.
Yeah, I know some. If you can't sit down and watch a 4-hour movie, I mean it's maybe 3 hours and 41 minutes actually. If you can't sit and watch the whole 4 hours, people all over the place are putting out like chunks to watch like a miniseries. Yeah, like you watch the first 49 minutes. Mm-hmm. You hang up when Jimmy Hoffa calls him. This Frank, this Jimmy Hoffa, Al Pacino voice. And then you hang it up. And then that's it. Okay, end episode 49 minutes exactly.
That's not
right.
Bad.
And so they've got it like Dark Side of the Moon, Wizard of Oz tiered out, but still a great cinematic. I mean, I'd love to see this in the theater. I could just to see it all up there. Maybe there's things I missed because of just not feeling like I was in the 70s or the 50s. Jim Norton, who's in the movie, did a great Don Rickles. I was like, oh, it's Don Rickles? And then Sebastian Maniscalco's in it, but he's playing like Crazy Joe Gallo. So he's like this mafia guy that got blasted. And of course, Frank Sheeran's the guy that blasted him in the fucking... So he comes off to me as like the selling all the Wolf tickets. This guy. Like, he's just like, yeah, my dad, I was there. I killed JFK too. Like, I'm surprised we didn't find out that he killed JFK and Bobby.
Yeah, one of those guys who was involved in everything.
Yeah, is it in the book? Yeah. I think it might be. So, overall, Irishman,
I found it to be pretty great. I like Scorsese a lot. It's not like his deepest movie, but I do think there's a lot extra that he put into this one.
It's definitely hypnotizing.
Yeah.
I turned it on and didn't stop watching it. So.
It was a great moment for him to get everybody that he's liked in his life together for one last big film, because maybe he has a bunch more.
Hey, is everybody on dialysis too? Let's get him checks.
Well, I don't think Scorsese did it for a check.
Nah.
I think he wanted to have like at least a good moment with some of his old buddies.
And make a big movie the way he wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. There's a lot of personality in this movie. There's a lot of patience in this movie. This is how Marvel step it up, man. This is cinema right here.
Oh no, this is cinema. Like
real cinema.
Marvel's its own thing. I mean, it's its own thing. I'm not going to say bad about it, but it is different than this. I kind of get his point.
They crushed my DC universe, so fuck them. So, overall, you can check out The Irishman on Netflix.
Yeah. Or your favorite torrenting service.
Yeah. We not send any there, but definitely use one of them. What are they called? VPNs.
VPNs.
You want to say like what was that the old UPN network or whatever? Upin. But yeah, while you're out there torrenting, don't let any spoilers ruin your life.
Yeah, and watch The Future Man.
One of these days, Future Man. That's like get the Irish.
There was
man,
a moment I was watching
Future Man. It's all comic book man now.
There's I think somebody in the movie who's in Future Man as well. There was a moment where I was like, man, I could get Future Man into this. But now now there's nothing clever about it. Just